Dajjal means the liar, the betrayer, the illusionist. All right, all these words. He comes and says that he is Prophet Isa alayhi salam when he first comes out. In the Bible, he's called the Antichrist, or in Judaism, Antichrist. So he is an Antichrist against Isa alayhi salam. Rasul called him Masih al-Dajjal, the Christ who is the liar, meaning he's not the real Christ, but he will make people think that he is. At the moment, the Dajjal will not come until there are prerequisites. There are certain occurrences that are going to happen before the Dajjal comes out. For example, what is known as Israel today, in those days in Jerusalem, it will be filled with dates, palm trees. In those days it wasn't at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Now it's filled with palm trees, full of it. The Israelis export so much of these beautiful date that we buy, and you can see them. A lot of them, palm trees. Another sign is that a man from the Arabs will come out as a prophet, and his people will expel him from the land. They'll fight him. He is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There are a few other signs. And these are the signs of the closeness of the coming of the Dajjal. He is also called Al-Masih, not only because of the eye that looks like it's been wiped off, but also the word Masih in Arabic means that the one who will spread out through the world. He will go everywhere in the world. And it's also true. He will go everywhere in the world. He will reach every place in the world and occupy it except for two places. Mecca and Medina, or Tiba, or Yathrib, as it's called. It's got three names, it's got several names. Al-Masih calls it, Al-Masih al-Dajjal calls it Tiba. Tiba means Medina and Mecca. He will not be able to set foot, he will not be able to go into it. But he will reach its borders, and he'll try to deceive the people who are in there. The first among those who will follow him are said to be the Jews by our scholars. Why? Well, because of the belief system the Christians and Jews have. They will both follow him in the beginning. The Jews do not believe that Isa alayhi salam was a true prophet. They believe he was an impostor. They believe in Moses. They believe Musa was the last of the prophets, and their Torah is telling them about a coming prophet. When Isa alayhi salam came, they said he's an impostor. So they tried to kill him. So now they say he's still an impostor. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out, he fit the descriptions of their Torah. But they rejected him because he was among the Arabs. They didn't want to accept him. So they've made up their own laws and saying that we are still waiting for the prophet to come, the true Jesus. And a Dajjal will come out and say, I am Jesus Christ. And they like his ways. They will follow him. They'll follow him. And the Christians will follow him because they believe, as their Bible says, that Christ will come back. We also believe Christ will come back, alayhi salam. But our Prophet ﷺ told us, be careful, a Dajjal will come then, Isa alayhi salam. The Christians were also told about this, and the Jews, but they get it wrong somehow because they've distorted their scriptures. So he will come out and say, I am Christ, Isa alayhi salam. And he'll show them these miracles that he does, right? And that's why they'll believe him. So he will come out freed, and Allah would give him some powers. Rasul ﷺ told us that he has the power to order the clouds to rain wherever he wills, to order the earth to be fertilized wherever he wishes. He will pass by a hill and he'll order its golds and treasures to come out, and they'll follow him like an army. He'll rule the world. As time passes, he'll start to tell them, I am God, ana ilahukum. Now it's easy for the Christians to accept him as a God because they already have Isa alayhi salam a God. And the Jews will take it, well, this is what's going to happen. Some of them will reject him as a God. And then they'll say, what proof do you have? He said, only God can raise the dead. He said, okay, what if I raise your parents from the dead? They said, yes, we'll believe your God. So he will be able to get the jinns, the shayateen, to work for him, and he will raise them to become, to look like their parents. Well, not raise them, we'll tell them to look like their parents, and they will speak to them. And so the people, non-Muslim people and the weak Muslims will follow him. And if we see him go in the other direction, we can't fight him. But Al-Mahdi and his army will be fighting the army of the Dajjal. Like we'll be, inshallah, if we live till then, we'll be fighting groups of their army wherever they attack Muslims. Dajjal himself won't go there with a sword and force people to follow him, but rather he will influence you. If you don't follow him, he will leave you alone with poverty, poverty, absolute poverty. And that's why people will be influenced to follow him. Among the Muslims, there will be many who follow him. And among the women, many. But only the strongest will survive that time. Rasul ﷺ told us that the Dajjal's trial is among the biggest trials ever. Look at our state now, brothers and sisters. The prerequisites of a Dajjal, what he represents of materialism, is already in the hearts of a lot of Muslims. And this is now, before even the Dajjal has even arrived yet. And already a lot of the Muslims are changing their ways. Alhamdulillah, not all of them. So imagine when he actually comes up in his actual form. It's going to be tremendous. For Rasul ﷺ said, if a Dajjal comes out now and I'm with you, I am responsible to protect you from him. But if I die and he comes out, every person is responsible for themselves, man. Yani, it's something that major. We ask Allah to save us from that. A Dajjal will live for 40 days, as we said. In the first day, it'll be as long as a year. The second day, as long as a month. Third day, as long as a week. And the rest of the days, normal. And there will be one man who will be able to, who will do something. Rasul ﷺ says, I know him, and he is the best man on that day. He will come warning the people, saying he is not God, he is not God, he is a Dajjal, he is the Antichrist. And they will say, what are you saying about our Lord? So they'll bring him to him. And he will say, I am your God, look what I can do. He said, you are the liar, and the Prophet ﷺ told us about you. So he'll bring a saw, and he'll saw him in half. And then he'll walk between the two body parts, and the man will come and rise, will become alive again. And the Prophet ﷺ told us he'll be able to do that once, just once. And the man said, the Dajjal says to him, now do you believe I am God? And he says, now I believe more that you are not God, but you are actually a Dajjal, because you cannot do this to me again. And truly, he will not be able to do that again. He will throw him into his fire. And Rasul ﷺ tells us he will have something that looks like a fire and something that looks like water. He said it's an illusion. The fire is his water and his water is his fire. Go to the fire to drink from it if you see it. And the man vanishes, disappears. Rasul ﷺ says he is the best, he's a real man, the best of men in that day, who tries to call the people away from the worship of a Dajjal. The most dangerous thing a Dajjal will have is the psychological deception. Dajjal, the worst, I mean, what's so bad? I mean, we've had many wars before and Muslims have been wiped out in countries, in places before, but this Dajjal, he doesn't wipe out or take over the rule or authority or power in the world really by weapons of mass destruction or all that stuff. He takes it over by the psychological war. And what do we live in today? What kind of wars do you think today are the strongest and most dangerous wars? It's not the wars of blood and mass destruction. No, it is the ideological wars that we are living now. You could be living in the most peaceful country, and through the internet and television, our youth, our Muslim youth, are being destroyed mentally, psychologically. Where there is, how can I explain it? We are now in a time of what we can call something like a very complex reverse psychological war, reverse psychology, mixed with other deceptions. You look at the evil and you think it's good, and it comes to you with a smile. And our youth think it's okay, until religion is looked at as a restriction rather than a protection. Among the things which the Prophet ﷺ told us to save ourselves from the Dajjal, first of all, is knowledge of the Dajjal, following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and second and thirdly, he said, recite the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf. Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. The first 10 to the end. For they will protect you. Allah will give your heart strength if you recite them when He comes. You won't have that power over your mind or over your intellect. Surah Al-Kahf plays a huge role in the coming of the Dajjal. For those who recite Surah Al-Kahf, you'll see that a lot of its lessons that are in there really speak about our time now, such as المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا children and wealth are the decoration of this worldly life, and it will attack the hearts of a lot of people. It gives lessons of people who are materialistic and those who are not. Focus a lot on materialism in Surah Al-Kahf. Focus a lot on pride of knowledge. People who think they're so knowledgeable but they know nothing. Such as the story between Musa alayhi salam and Al-Khadir. Or such as the story between the man of the big garden and the man who was righteous and says to him, thank God for this garden. He says, I got it from my own power. God didn't give it to me. And even if I die, I'm going to go to Jannah anyway because God is merciful. How many people speak in this language today? There are many. If you read Surah Al-Kahf and you think about the Dajjal and what it represents, you'll find that subhanAllah, Surah Al-Kahf plays a huge role in letting you understand that the current world today. In every way. Read it and try to understand it. You'll see that it's talking about today's system, how the world runs today.